Dianne at Minerva. I hope you're all having a super week. Now today I'm going to share this make with you, and it's for a Vogue strappy dress. It's got a beautiful shape and this high-low hem here, and we can also make it with a contrasting bodice if we wish. Now I'm going to be making it all in one fabric today, so I'm going to be making version B. And what I'm going to be using is this amazing exclusive range Minerva viscose chalet in seedling sketch. Now look at these beautiful leaves in all these different colours. We have a lovely candy pink, gold, turquoise, emerald green, a lovely violet there. Doesn't that look wonderful? I think this is a beautiful fabric for the spring, and it would make a wonderful special occasion dress. I feel if you have a wedding or a party to attend, what a fabulous make. So what you'll need to make this garment is the Vogue pattern, the Minerva exclusive range fabric in seedling sketch, a matching thread, a coordinating zip and some lining, and you'll find all these tagged below. Now the fabric is 150 centimetres wide, it's 100% viscose and a light to medium weight, so perfect for a dress such as this. I would love it if you could sew along with me today and join in. But before we do so, we always need to make sure that we wash and prepare our fabric as we would normally. So if you normally wash and tumble dry, go ahead and do that now, or wash and line dry. And this ensures that any shrinkage, which is usually only a tiny amount, will occur at this stage and not after you've created your beautiful makes. We would love it if you can take a look at the Minerva Craft Club. With the Minerva Craft Club, you get 10% off all your orders for a whole year, so that's a really good deal. And also create a free account with us. That way you can connect with like-minded sewers from all over the world who enjoy sewing just as much as you do. You can share all your projects and ideas in one place to come back to later on, and it's all completely free. So why not go ahead and do that now? Now before we begin, we want to take our pattern and a tape measure and locate your sizing on the back. Make sure you do this before you begin any new make, as this will ensure a perfect fit. Now when you're happy with your sizing, we're going to go and cut our pattern pieces. So let's go and do that together now. Here are our pattern pieces. So here we have our bodice back. Now you're going to cut 2 in fabric and 2 in your lining. Make sure you note your notches and your straight grain. Here we have the bodice side back. Now you're going to cut 2 in fabric and 2 in lining again, and note these notches here and here. You can lengthen or shorten here at this point where these lines are, what's correct for your body. Here we have the bodice side front. This is an A cut because I'm an A cup, so you need to make sure that you cut for the correct bust size. So make sure that you measure yourself correctly for this part. So again, we're going to cut 2 in fabric and 2 in lining. This is a straight grain, mark the notches. And this is the front piece. Again, this is my cup size, so you need to check that it's in the correct cup size when you cut this out. And this is cut on the fold here. 1 in your main fabric and 1 in lining. Again, mark the notches. Here are the pockets. You're going to cut 2 in fabric and 2 in lining. I've chosen to cut 4 all in the main fabric, so you might wish to do this also. Make sure you cut them as 2 pairs though. And here we have the straps. You're going to cut 2 of these. Note the straight grain and these circles here. This is your skirt side back. You're going to cut 2 pieces, and this is your straight grain. Make a note of these markings here, your notches and your circles, and lengthen or shorten at the bottom on the hem. This is a skirt back. You're going to cut 2, make a note of the circles, the centre back point here, these 3 notches. Make sure you get your straight grain line correctly. Here we have the skirt side front. Cut 2 pieces, the straight grain is here. Note your markings. Here is the skirt front, and this time this is cut on the fold. So you cut 1 piece on the fold, note your markings. Now we're ready to begin making our dress. So first of all, you want to wind half of your thread onto your spool. Check your machine needle is sharp. Now I'm using a universal size 70 needle today, a standard size 70 for this viscose chalet. I find that this is just right for me. You may want to test this on a piece of scrap fabric before you begin. Then when you've done that, we're going to take our front pieces of our bodice and we're going to stitch a line of stitching either side of those front pieces. That is our first job, so let's go and do that now. So we're making 1 line of stitching down each side of this front panel, and this will help everything stay in place and not stretch out when you're making it up. Now we're going to pin our bodice side fronts to our front bodice at this point, so make sure you match your notches here and here. So we're going to pin it first of all. So pin your markings first before easing in this curved section here. That way you'll make sure it fits properly. Now at this point I will repeat those steps on my lining pieces also, so your front bodice piece to your side front bodice pieces. Pin bodice side back to bodice back here, again matching the notches. Flip it over, so right sides are facing. Again, repeat with your back lining pieces. Back side bodice to back bodice. Pinning your notches first of all. Now with right sides facing, place your back pieces on top of your front like this. And we're going to stitch our side seams front to back, matching our notches. Now when we've done this, we can press our seams, so you might want to do this all in one sitting. So that's what I'm going to do with mine with this. So I've clipped my front sections here where they join, or rather my back sections and my front sections have been clipped at this point. I've not pressed them yet because I'm going to do it all in one go. So I'm going to stitch my side seams now, then when I've done that I'm going to press all my seams together. Next you're going to pin your skirt side front to your skirt front. So here we have a notch on each side, so make sure you match those up, and then we're going to pin it down this side before we stitch it in position. Pin your 2 centre back skirt pieces together, so right sides facing, and then you have a circle here, so a large circle at this point where my black pin is. We're going to leave it open above that point and we're going to stitch from there below it. We have our notches here, so pin your centre back seam and stitch. Now pin your side back to your back, and we're going to stitch this seam. Check that you have the right notches matching the right ones, because if you get it the wrong way around, the bottom of the skirt won't hang properly and your waist won't fit properly either. At this point, we're going to stitch our pockets in place. So if you're using 2 lining pieces and 2 main fabric pieces, you want your lining pieces at this point, and you're going to pin those to your front sections here. So this is your front side. You're going to match this notch. Now I'm using the same fabric for both my pocket pieces, that's why I've got this fabric. And then when we've stitched that in position, 6mm in, we're going to press the seam out towards the pocket. Remember, if you're using lining pieces for one of your pocket pieces, you'll be using the lining piece at this point. Pin your remaining pocket sections to your side back sections here, again matching the notches, and stitch in place. Now lay your front skirt sections on top of your back skirt sections, right sides facing. We're going to have our pocket pieces facing outwards like this. And you can place a pin in the middle of those to keep those in place if you wish. Now we're going to stitch from the top down to this circle here and reinforce. Then we're going to leave a gap here because this is your pocket opening, and we're going to stitch from this circle all the way down this seam here, matching the notches as you go. When we've done that, we can go around our pocket pieces, and then after that you can edge finish with either an overlock or a zigzag stitch. Now, because of the shape of this hem, so it's high-low and also it's got a curve to it, so it goes across the bias in places, I'm hanging it on my mannequin before I hem this. So before I go any further with adding the bodice and so on, I'm hanging it, and I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to leave it overnight so that can settle. So you might wish to put it on a hanger and hang it up, and then you can check the hem and see if there's been any variation in that hem, and you'll notice because it won't be lying even in places, it'll be longer and it won't look quite right. Now we are pinning our skirt to our bodice, so you want to make sure that your pockets are pushed forwards towards the front. You may want to base that in place before you do this. And then we're lining up these seams, so if you flip it over you can see if everything's in line as you pinned it, like this. I snipped the centre of my front skirt and also the centre of my bodice. I always do this to find the front and centre, and I'll line that up before I begin pinning everything else. Now make sure that these seams line up. Now this may require a little bit of checking and jiggling as you sew that seam in place, but if you just make sure that that's all in position, it'll save you unpicking later on. So just make sure that they're lined up there. Pin that one. I'm going to just move that pin a little. Now change to your invisible zipper foot. Now you may want to invest in one of these if you don't have one already. Consult your manual, but these are very good for holding the teeth in place as you stitch down them, and it keeps the needle directly behind the teeth here. Now when you have one side of your zipper in place, it's always best to mark this central seam here. So you can do this either with chalk or with pencil, and just mark that centre seam there so that you can see when you're stitching the other side exactly where that needs to line up. Fold your shoulder straps along the fold line in half lengthways like this, and then you're going to stitch this with a 1 centimetre seam here. Pin your shoulder straps to the upper edge of your back like this, matching your circles, and the straps sort of point inwards, so you want them right sides facing down, so the seam will be against your body like this. So the good side is here, pointing towards the good side of the dress. Now you can pin it, or I'm just going to baste it, I'll put a few basting stitches in. Now when you've done that, you also want to take your lining pieces, which you have been joining together as you went, or you may be doing it all in one stage now, and you're going to press up the seam allowance on the lower edge like this. When you've done that, we're going to pin it to our bodice. Now when you're pinning to your bodice, you want to make sure you're matching all of the notches and seams. When you arrive at the front part here where it goes straight across at the shoulder like this, you want to leave that part open when you stitch your seams, because what we're going to do is we're going to slot our strap in here, we're going to try it on and we're going to check for fit. Then when we're happy with it, we will pin it and we will stitch across there after. So when we sew around these seams now, you leave both of these top straight parts here open. So back tack either side and leave a little gap to slot your strap into. Understitch as far round as you can on the inside of your neckline, pushing your seam towards the lining. Now pin your bodice lining down your zip on the inside like this, and I would also suggest lying it out flat like this and pinning the bottom turned up edge to your bodice also before stitching it in place. Now you can do this by hand and the same down the front, but please lay it out flat and check all your seams and the way it's lying on the inside before you stitch it in position. When you've done this, we're going to try on and check our hem length. Now hem your dress. I've overlocked the bottom of mine after trying on, and now I'm just doing a single fold hem. So here is the finished dress. Well, I hope you've enjoyed sewing along with me today. Have you sewn this pattern before? If so, please let us know in the comments below, along with any photographs. We always love to see what you've been making. Also, you can ask any questions and we'll do our best to help you in any way we can. So I think this would be a fabulous dress for a special occasion, maybe a prom or a wedding, a special party you may be attending. It would look good in a range of fabrics, and I particularly like the way that you can change up the bodice and the skirt, maybe do the skirt in a chiffon and the top in a sateen or maybe a velvet, maybe mix it up with a satin and a lace. Lots of options there, ways that you can play around with this pattern. Remember to like and follow Minerva to get more video content like this every week. Well, that's all for today, and I hope to be back soon with another sew along. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.